Good evening, folks, and welcome. If this is your first time on my show, my name is Cosi Talks. I'm a physical therapist, amputee specialist, and advocate for the limb loss community for now over 23 years. Now, this show is about education, information, and empowering and living strong after amputation. Tonight's headline topic is going to be, is it normal not to think about your amputation? So this and more on tonight's Cosi Talks Live. All right, guys. So tonight I have my special Valentine's Day edition mug. So early happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there. And thank you for all of you who sent a text saying that you would like to be my Valentine. I really appreciate having so many Valentines with me tonight. Let's see. We got Earl from California coming in from the YouTube channel. Incredible show last week. Yes, it was. Guys, I can't tell you. And all that racket in the background, y'all were asking about Mr. Pickles. That's him making all that racket in the background running around. Yes, guys, the show last week, I have to say it was probably one of the strongest shows I've ever had, thanks to Rochelle's testimony. I've had so many beautiful comments from you guys coming in. We're sharing some of those follow-up comments tonight. And I know Rochelle has appreciated very much that kind of feedback, as you guys can only imagine what it takes to present your testimony like that in such a public space and forum. So thank you all again for showing up. Thank you for your gracious support and listening. And again, those of you who sent me feedback about similar situations that you've been going through in your life, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. It was incredible. We got Bubbles on board and Robert in Georgia with coffee in his cup. Good to see you, Robert and Bubbles. Everybody's like, howdy, Bubbles. All right, Robert, throw up there your handle for Instagram for Bubbles. I know some folks are going to want to follow you. Donna's like, yeah, I agree. Stacy just landed in Orlando. Girlfriend, what you doing in my neck of the woods? You trying to escape that winter? What are you doing in Orlando? We got Emily coming in from Central PA with mocha cold brew with chocolate cold foam. Tonight I have my decaf in my Valentine's Day mug. My personal barista, also known as my little boy Gabriel, made this for me in my Valentine's Day mug. So cheers, everyone there. Donna coming in from Wyoming, drinking iced tea. Iced tea, girlfriend, it is cold. We got Deborah coming in. She says, hi, Stacy. Rex saying, hello, everyone from Lawrence, Kansas. Propel water in my cup. Hello, hello. Let's see. We got Richard Elliott coming in from Mission, Texas with Coffee Pete's Dark Roast. That sounds really good. We got Morgan from Illinois drinking water. Christy coming in from Auburn, Nebraska, drinking wild cherry Pepsi. Christy, I'm glad you were able to make it this evening. We got a full house on board tonight. Let's see, Deborah drinking her kombucha. We got Marianne from South Dakota with cranberry juice in her cup tonight. We got Pop 19. Pop 19, I got your question over here. Yeah, it was a question. You just sent in a question. Okay. Coming in and saying New York flavored core water. Pam coming in from Indy. I got your question, Pam. We got Tina from West Virginia drinking, let's see, was she drinking? Ice water. I'm like trying to keep track of everybody here. We got, hey, Jim, thanks for coming in from St. Louis, metro area. Nice glass of red wine. Very, very nice, Jim. Very nice. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you out there as well. We've got Chuck coming in from Wyoming. Hey there, Chuck. Say hello to Mrs. Chuck for me. Mark from Colorado with water again in his cup. And I got your very thoughtful, your question's the headliner question for tonight, Mark. It was a good one. Pastor Dave's on board. It's a party now. So we got Kim coming in from Indiana. Jim, it was an absolute pleasure seeing you all at the Amputee Coalition Conference. As you can see, I decided to bring a little bit of the Vegas sparkle with me tonight. Like I said, guys, I'm still smiling from that conference. Had a wonderful, wonderful time meeting everyone. Stacy saying, I'm trying to escape the Michigan winter. Girlfriend, I do not blame you. Going on a cruise tomorrow. Look at you. Look at you. Got Sherry also coming in from Orlando with her protein watermelon drink. And okay, Robert says Bubbles Great Adventures on Instagram. Guys, go ahead and follow. Give Bubbles a follow. He's one of my favorite Muppets. Donna, this cracks me up. Donna says it's not cold here. It's 47. Donna, that's the temperature that the iguanas and the Floridians start falling out of the trees over here. Just saying. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started with the headliner question. This was actually it was a really Interesting. Just when I think, I've been doing this show for 8 years, I'm not kidding, guys. I'm going to have to show you the folder one day. I have kept every question that everyone has asked me in 8 years of doing the show. I am not exaggerating. It's like a folder this thick. Okay. Very rarely do I get a question that has never been asked. Tonight is one of those questions. Okay. Pickles, come here. Come here. Come here. He is all over the place. I can't catch him anymore. Okay. So here was Mark's really thoughtful thoughts. Let's just put it that way. He says, "Hey, Cosi, I've been meaning to give you a thank you for last week's show, but keep getting interrupted. So thank you. Also received the book. Well done that. Thank you for your time and effort with that project. I would recommend it to everyone that has the need. You may already market to your peers, but you should probably get a copy sold to every PT facility." So the reason why I'm reading this, guys, is I don't know if I made the official announcement. Encompass Health, it's the third one in the top 3 largest hospital systems in the United States. Many of you have perhaps been Encompass Health patients after many years of trial and contract negotiations. Several of their facilities are now carrying the Cosi Talks Strong Body program. And I just launched that in December, and I am so excited. I am so excited. When I launched the Cosi Talks Strong Body program, I created it for you all. I didn't create it for clinicians. I created it for you all as amputees. I created it for my patients who come to my clinic. And in that process, I started showing my program to other clinicians, to prosthetists and physical therapists, and realized this is a great clinical resource tool. And we don't have anything like this for physical therapists. So I am super stoked, to say the least, to see this on a national level in the hands of the physical therapists who treat amputees, and also to the amputees themselves. So if you are an Encompass Health patient, okay, if you are an Encompass Health patient, if you're currently, in the hospital for Encompass Health, you've just had your amputation, you're getting treatment from them, and you're at one of these particular facilities carrying my program, you will have access to this program for free. So again, it's a small start. It's a small start, but this is where I want to take this. I want to make sure that this program is put into the hands of every amputee and every clinician that treats amputees. So I appreciate that, Mark. All right, let's continue on with Mark's question. He says, "I have an observation about myself. I know that I'm already weird." You're not weird, Mark. "But I find myself forgetting at times that I have no left leg below the knee. This is not to say that I'm experiencing a memory loss, but I am simply ignoring the fact that I'm utilizing a prosthesis. So far, 2.5 years into this, I have not found any task or activity I have tried that I have not been able to somehow accomplish. Sometimes I'll need to make minor adjustments, but nothing yet has been a problem. Is it normal to not continuously concern oneself about having and living with an amputation? In my daily living, it is such a non-issue, yet it was a huge event in my life. I, of course, experience inconveniences, and life takes a little bit more time for some occupational therapy items, but nothing close to being a concern or problem. Does that sound normal from your perspective?" And yes, I know, I fully admit I am not normal. Mark, show me a person who is normal, because I have yet to meet one, myself included. No, I think this is absolutely a wonderful success story. Again, I'm not a psychologist or psychologist, so I would love to pose them this question and just see what their thoughts are. I think it's a wonderful success. And I was having this conversation in particular with one of the Integrum ambassadors, okay, that she has osteointegration and she also has MS. So she's battling on 2 fronts. And she was considered to be very successful with her socket prosthesis. She was independent. She was doing her activities. She's an incredibly active woman, but she was always having to think about her prosthesis and the socket. So it prompted her to make that decision to get the osseointegration done. And what to me makes it a success, and when she and I had this conversation, she agreed with me, is she is not thinking about her amputation anymore. Her main focus is her MS, and it should be. MS is an autoimmune disorder. It's pretty intense, right? So for me, I consider it to be a success when people don't think about their amputation. Now, does everybody get to that point in their lives? Unfortunately not. Unfortunately, there's a lot of folks that, will be struggling for most of their lives. There's some people who have a lot more struggles. But for someone to say, I put my leg on in the morning and I live my life. I live my life. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful success story. I think it's a wonderful acceptance of the loss of your limb from a body self-image standpoint. And again, I'm not a psychologist, but it seems like you have a very pragmatic view, that you are understanding that, yeah, you've got limitations and you have to do things a little differently. You're not saying, I am invincible, there is nothing. No, you admit there are things that you have to adjust, and you've had to adjust in your life and relearn how to do things. But the fact that you don't think about it anymore, it's a success. On a personal note, I have my own breast cancer story, and it was several years before I stopped thinking about it every day, all the time. And it occupied a space in my brain all the time where I was conscious about it. And it's only recently that I've noticed, wow, I haven't really thought about my breast cancer, about my cancer, and all the ramifications that come with that. And I'm almost 10 years out. Okay. You're 2.5 years out. So I say bravo to you for having reached that point and that level of mobility and activity in your life. Okay. I would say that's a blessing, and enjoy it, embrace it. Right. No, you're not weird. You're not weird. And I would say, even for someone who's still thinking about it, the other end of the spectrum, for people that it's constantly on their mind because they are having struggles with their mobility, because they're still working on the acceptance of the loss of a limb, I would say to them, that's also a normal response. Okay. Because again, we've discussed that several times on the show, where losing a limb, getting cancer, these are not normal things that happen to the human body. Right. So it's understandable where some people are going to take longer for that acceptance and take longer for that, especially if they're still experiencing physical obstacles from it that remind them every day. I'd love to read the comments on this one. Because this is just a really interesting perspective. Let's see. Emily says he has the zoomies. Oh my gosh. When he really gets the zoomies, 11 p.m. at night when I'm trying to relax, that's when he decides he needs to go zipping up and down like a monkey on meth. I'm telling you. Hey there, Harsh. Good to see you, man, with water coming in from Richmond, Virginia. Let's see. Chrissy says Nebraska this week is 50. Saw a red-breast robin in the yard tonight. Those are beautiful. We don't have those down here. Hey there, Michael from California. Thank you for joining in. Pat says, hey, Cosi, cheers from the South Shore of Massachusetts. Hot chocolate with marshmallows in the mug. Cheers to you, Pat. You've got the right drink on you tonight. Yeah. Let's see. Ham sandwich coming in from Fort Wayne. Mike says he can't wait to get his book so he can help his amputee patients. Mike, I've got your question right here coming up. Let's see. Robert says, my PT John has your books and loves them. Well, you also have a wonderful PT there, Robert. Let's see. There's Bill with water in his cup. Ashley says, special education teacher here. My motto is there such a thing as normal? There you go. I still haven't found it yet. I certainly can't represent that. Robert says, sounds like total acceptance to reality where we all should strive to get to. Yeah. Linda says, hi, everyone. Linda New, currently in Woodstock, New York. Marianne says, I think about mine all the time. Hey there, Peter. Thanks for joining in. Let's see. Sherry says, yeah, that's totally normal. I don't think about my amputation. I don't think of myself as handicapped. I walk better than many people do with 2 legs. Having said that, it does take time and it wasn't instant. Stacy says, yes, my amputation is in the background of my life. It is still there, but once I get out of bed, I don't think about it anymore. In a socket, it was the main thing I thought about every moment of my day. Now I consider my amputation to be a shadow. It is just an extra accessory now. Okay. So guys, you can see here that there's a wide variety in the spectrum here of how people view their legs. Some people think about it every day. Some people, it's become a background noise. I know that as a clinician, subconsciously, I'm working with my patient to help them achieve the background noise effect. Okay. So whether it's really just going back to the prosthetist to get that socket fit to fit perfectly, or working on the gait and continuing to take you guys to the next level with your gait quality, with your strength, with your fitness. Again, That is the ultimate goal. That is the ultimate goal. And we're all, all of you are going to have different levels of reaching that goal. Donna says, heading to Florida this week. Welcome to Florida, Donna. Watch out for those iguanas. Deborah says, I've never been able to not think about it since I've never in 2 years gotten a socket that doesn't hurt. I'm hoping the slingshot socket I got last week works. I'm in the hospital with cellulitis, so I haven't given it a good run yet. Yeah, and Deborah, right now you're obviously in the middle of something that's going to be preoccupying your mind. I hope that slingshot socket works for you. I'm not familiar with it yet. I know several of you are giving it a try, and I'd love to hear your feedback on it. Good gravy. Cat, what are you doing? Acorn. That's what he's got. He's got an acorn that he is smacking around. Holy smokes. All right. Morgan says, I am a month post-op tomorrow. I'm still stuck laying around trying to heal, so it's constantly on my mind. However, I find myself staring at my leg and I just cannot comprehend that it's gone. And again, Morgan, this is definitely the part where I would say to you, reach out to your sources. Okay. If you are, obviously, you're still under the care of your surgeon, you have your medical team right there, ask them for resources. Amputee Coalition, okay, look up their website, look for their certified peer visitor program so that you can have someone who's an amputee that's been trained to come out and talk to you, okay? Use those resources. Look around for local support groups. Thankfully, right now, you can just Google amputee support groups near me. You're going to find a lot of options. Okay. And this is where I tell you, you got to do physical, emotional, and spiritual work. Okay. Physical by making sure you're doing everything to get that healing done, getting the right therapy. All right. Getting your mobility back. The spiritual and the emotional. Okay. You have to address those. And it starts the day you finish surgery. Okay. So if you haven't already done so, go back to your surgeon, go back to your medical team and just say, hey, what are my resources for this? For perhaps counseling or for peer support. Because yeah, it's a huge event in your life. It is a huge event in your life. Let's see. Linda says, I'm so thankful to be alive and put my prosthetic on first thing in the morning and find myself forgetting I have a prosthetic. Okay. Chad says, I can't get rid of contractures, planning on trying a slingshot as well. Been on a standard sockets for 5 years. And again, Chad, when it comes to the contractures, okay, physical therapy, please, please, please. If you've already been to a physical therapist, didn't get help, get another physical therapist and see how they can help you with that. Donna says, I'm on day 2 of just waiting and I still can't take a normal step. Okay. All right, let's take a look over at my Instagram channel. By the way, guys, I am broadcasting tonight to TikTok. TikTok is kind of funny. Some weeks they say I can broadcast. Other weeks they say, nope, sorry, we're not letting you broadcast. So if any of you have TikTok, if you don't mind spotting over real quick and seeing if it's live, I'm curious to see if it's actually working. They said it was. So we got Cindy listening in on Instagram with her Starry 0. We got a lot of folks. Gustavo, oye, hace mucho tiempo que no te veo. Hace mucho tiempo que no te veo. Estamos hablando del campo de salud mental después de amputación y la importancia de eso. Así que espero que estés escuchando. Muchas cosas buenas. All right, let's see. Okay, so let's get on to the next question. This one comes in from Michael. So guys, I love it when I have amputees watch the show. I love it even more when I have clinicians who treat amputees that watch the show. And we've had several prosthetists, physical therapists, even a couple of docs here and there over the years that have chimed in to watch the show. And again, this show is just as much for them as it is for you because there's not a lot of education out there for physical therapists treating amputees. There's not a lot of us out there to begin with and not a lot of resources. So I'm happy to have this one. Michael says, I have a double above the knee amputee that is hard time going from sit to stand from the wheelchair or even a chair with arms. Any idea on how I can make it easier for her? Thank you. Yes. So Michael, this was actually a trick I started doing for when I was working home health and I had my little old ladies and my little old men that they would sit down in their couches and the couches would just sink down and they couldn't get back up again. Okay. This is also a little strategy that I used in hospital when people were fresh out of operation, out of surgery, whether it was an amputation or any other surgery that it's just painful to get up out of a chair, period, when you're freshly operated. Okay. Super high tech, Michael. Super high tech. Are you with me on this one? Pillows. Lots and lots of pillows. You heard me right. Okay. Literally, I would take sometimes even up to 5 pillows and I would stack them in the chair. Okay. Obviously making sure that your patient's not going to slide out of your chair when you try this. Okay. But I would stack them so high up that they would practically be standing up. Okay. And I would start there. Okay. Now, when it comes to a BACA, they need to know how to use those knees. Okay. So you need to determine, is it a mechanical knee or a microprocessor knee? That's usually a good place to start. If it's mechanical knees, it means that they have to pull back, okay, while they're standing to lock the knees in extension. Okay. If it's a microprocessor knee, they're still going to have to kind of, figure it out, but it'll be a little bit easier for them to stand up, and they can kind of use the hydraulics to kind of cushion them up a little bit. When it comes to the sit to stand feature, okay, I love to observe how other BACAs do it, more experienced BACAs do it. Usually what they do is what I see many of them do. Many of them will get one leg into extension and then use that leg to prop themselves as they get the other leg to extend. Okay. Some of them, and usually it's my younger ones that are in really good shape, they can kind of push themselves up out of the chair and pop them both at the same time into extension. If I have any BACAs on board, by the way, I'd love to hear more about what you think. But Mike, every BACA I've seen, they have their little trick for how they get into standing. Okay. But when they're starting out, you're trying to kind of learn their knee. They're trying to learn their knee. So the best way to do it is to get them really high up so that they don't have to go very far when they go in it. So if they're super lifted, boosted, right? If they're super boosted in the chair, let me see, where's Bob? Come here, Bob. You're going to help out with this one, Bob. All right. So if Bob is sitting in a chair like this, then yeah, it's going to be really hard for him to negotiate learning two knees at the same time to get himself up. So I would get them so propped up that they're only like this. So all they have to do is practice this movement. Okay. Doing the sit to stand movement. Okay. And then as they master this, then we take away one pillow at a time. Okay. And for them, it's a combination of strengthening because, yeah, they do need to strengthen those glutes and whatever residual hamstrings that they have, if that can kick in to help. And then they also have to learn how to coordinate, right, with the upper trunk movement. And again, using all those strategies that we teach our patients in physical therapy, rocking forward. They might need to set one foot in front of the other if there's a stronger leg. Okay. But doing it from a facilitated position, a modified position like this, it allows them to kind of play around and figure out what strategy is going to work for them in an easier way. So once they kind of master this, we take away one pillow at a time. And guys, this isn't just for physical therapy. This is something you can practice at home. Like I said, when I worked home health, this is how I had to teach my patients so that they could get up and down off their sofas. Okay. And we're talking about people with two legs. So this is a great strategy and technique for one leg versus two legs. Okay. So this is the way to do it. This is a great, fantastic way to do it. I'm curious to see what you folks have to say here about your own personal experiences with this one, whatever hacks you may have. A ver. Mm-hmm. Chad says, I can't get rid of contractures, planning on trying a slingshot as well. And I've been in standard sockets for 5 years. Okay. That's right. I read that comment already. Sorry, guys. Kim says, I have a typed up list of many online support amputee groups. I will try to say you can Google and find a few. Yeah. And guys, this wasn't even the case. I would say that was one of the very small benefits, if you can say that, of the shutdowns, the 2019 shutdowns, is we started having to make everything virtual and accessible. And that's where you saw, I think, a really big uptick in virtual support groups. And that thankfully stuck around even after the shutdowns were lifted. So yes, I think you're right. This is something that you can Google. Again, use the Amputee Coalition as a resource. They should be providing you, this is part of the services they're supposed to be providing you, is as certified peer visitors to provide one for you in your town. And then also information on support groups in your area. So yeah. Let's see. Scott says, in regards to Morgan's comment, I'm a month out and still pain in getting around. Yeah. Linda says, oh my goodness, yes, pillows are the best. Mike says she has a neurobilateral. Okay. Okay. Jim, good to have you here. Let's see. Robert says, always recommend new amputees find an online support group. Very important. You learn what is next from people who have been there, done that. Yeah. And the thing is, to be a certified peer visitor, you have to be an amputee. It can't even be like an experienced clinician like myself. And I think that's appropriate. I think that's very appropriate. Susan says, Marshall is sending Valentine's Day kisses. Oh, Baca here. Susan, if you can chime in, please. So I don't know if you heard the question earlier, but one of our physical therapists here has a Baca patient and is struggling to get from sit to stand. So how did you go about learning that strategy, Susan? Because you're an expert. You are an expert. Mary says, for 38 years, I felt more normal and comfortable using my forearm crutches as opposed to wearing my socket prosthetic. Now with my Oprah implant, I wear my bone anchored prosthetic all day, every day, and feel so natural and comfortable. And again, Mary, I think you're another wonderful example of your amputation living in the background. And obviously I know you're aware of your amputation and things like that, but when I see you, I forget that you're an amputee because you're living your life, right? And we got to hang out in Vegas and you were zipping up and down and we were zipping up and down the Vegas and all the different places and sites, and that was it. You were living your life. And I know you're an incredibly active individual. All right, guys, let's kick it over to sponsors for this evening. As you guys know, I have amazing sponsors. They are the reason I can continue to produce this show. So without them, I can't do the show. So we're going to show them a little love tonight. We're going to start by telling you that Vital Fit, the skincare regimen, is back and now available under the Sleeve Saver label. It's going to keep your skin soft, protected, and ready for prosthetic life, and with this trusted dermatologist developed formula. So if you're interested in becoming an ambassador or trialing some of the new products that Sleeve Saver is coming up with, I want you to scan that QR code, or if you're just curious, scan the QR code. There's a form on there that you can fill out and just start exploring the website. And guys, on that note, next week, the incomparable Bill Hatton is going to be on the show. And when I tell you this guy is a Renaissance man, he really, truly is an incredible human being. He is a bilateral amputee himself, and he is the founder of Sleeve Saver. And I cannot wait to have him on the show. We're going to run out of time. Because we are going to have so much to talk about. But he is one of my new sponsors for 2026, and I am so grateful for his support, and I cannot wait to share his story with you guys next week. All right, let's get back to the chat. Christy says, my sit to stand needs work. Well, Christy, now you have your homework assignment there. Let's see, WWE rules. Okay, I love that handle. Just that handle right there. We need to be friends. Says, I'm a Baca. I get on the floor and push my way up. That's incredible. So WWE, what strategy do you use when you're going from a low chair into standing? I would love to know. Guys, click on that QR code. Show my sponsor some love. Mike says, as they progress, take the pillows away. Yes. And again, I usually like the hospital. They have the most horrible pillows for sleeping because they're super thin and they provide no support, but they are the best pillows for this kind of a strategy because they're so thin. You can stack up a whole ton of them, one on top of the other, and just take away one at a time. Yeah. So WWE says he's push-up position, then grab something near you. There you go. Ham Sandwich says, as a right above the knee amputee with an MPK, how much leaning to the left to stand is acceptable versus keeping your torso in the middle? That's a really great question. So Ham Sandwich, when it comes to asymmetry, okay, yeah, your body is going to want to favor the sound side, right? And for most amputees, not all, for most amputees, the amputated side is the weaker side, okay? There are some amputees that because they have a lot of problems with the side that's intact, the amputated side is stronger. But let's go for the majority. So yes, when I am working with my patients, okay, I am constantly striving to get them to equalize the weight between both legs. Like I would say 80% of my treatment strategies have that as the foundation, is how can I get this person to put as much weight into the amputated side as possible, okay? And it's for several reasons. We want to normalize the gait as much as possible. In doing so, we're going to make the gait more efficient. It's going to be less taxing, more energy efficient. And more importantly, it's going to preserve the intact side. Okay. The more we see folks aging with ear amputation, the more, unfortunately, we're seeing chronic overuse injuries on the sound side. Okay. So yes. And in terms of the torso, right? So if you're moving your torso to this side, your center of gravity is going to be moved off to the side. Things are going to be shifted. So it's going to affect everything. And then here's the kicker, right? So I'm exaggerating with Bob here. So let's say Bob, we're going to make him a left-sided amputee. Let's say Bob is really leaning over, right, towards his sound side. Well, the whole point is your brain is engineered to want to keep you upright. So if you're leaning this way, then it means your brain's going to compensate by making your torso lean this way. Okay. So what's that going to do to your spine over the course of time? Cause a lot of back problems. That's what it's going to do. Okay. And you just start to see some scoliosis forming and things like that. Okay. And that's what, at the end of the day, when you kind of go to the foundation of it, the goal of your brain is to keep your head, arms, and trunk upright. Okay. So if the lower half of the body is doing something funky to throw off that midline, okay, your body's going to do whatever it has to do to compensate. All right. And over the course of several years, that is going to cause some permanent changes, cause some significant changes in the body. Linda saying, practice, practice, practice. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. All right, guys, let's take another look. Robert says, I spent a month on sit to stand before it became second nature. Yeah. We got Frances coming in saying she's not in Detroit anymore, but not in Orlando, but in Detroit. You went to Motown, going to Motown. My pleasure, Michael. And again, thank you for ordering the books, and let me know if you have any more questions. Let's see. Bill says, Baca here, get to the floor, put sockets on, get it, push up position, grab something sturdy, and basically climb up. Yeah. And it's interesting, guys. So like with my Baca patients, the sit to stand transfer and then floor transfers, everybody does it a little bit differently. And when I'm guiding someone in that process, I kind of teach them, here's kind of the basic structure. And then it's like, okay, now let's do trial and error to help you find your way of doing it that's going to be safe and efficient and give you the most amount of independence. Ultimately, that's the goal. All right, let's see. Susan says, lots of core work. I might need to put some video together for you. That'd be awesome, Susan. That'd be awesome because you get up beautifully. Let's see. Francis says, I do pull-up position, left below the knee, right metatarsal. Okay. Let's see. Chrissy says, I'm putting more weight on the prosthetic side when trying to get up and put more weight on the knee. Surgery left, trying to bend knee. Ooh, I don't know if I read that correctly. Kelly says, I don't have a prosthesis. How do I prevent spine issues? I use a walker and crutches for mobility. Okay. So Kelly, that's an excellent question. So obviously my natural curiosity would be to say, if you don't mind telling me why you don't have a prosthesis and what is preventing you from using one. But if for whatever reason a prosthesis is not possible for you, okay, going actually to a back specialist for physical therapy. Okay. There are like my colleagues who specialize in back therapy in the spine. They're brilliant. They're brilliant. They have such an amazing knowledge of the biomechanics of the spine. It's incredible. So whenever I run into someone, if I have a patient that comes in that's experiencing back pain issues, things like that, most of the time we can resolve a lot of the problems by correcting the gait. If I find that, you know what, I'm not getting anywhere with this patient, I think we need to take it to someone who's a specialist, I refer them out. So, in your case, Kelly, I would say find a physical therapist who specializes in spine. Okay. Because what they're going to be able to do is design a program for you that will help prevent those issues from happening. Okay. Specifically, people who know the Schroth method. Okay. The Schroth method. That for me, that's the specialist. And let me see if I don't know if I'm spelling it correctly. Not a lot of people that do this for spine management. Okay. I typed it in there. Okay. And you would maybe have to Google Schroth specialist near me. Okay. And it might actually be a chiropractor who practices the Schroth method. Usually it's a physical therapist. Okay. But that's who I would look for. That's who I would look for. Okay. Let's see. Bill asks, is it weird or what? I had sciatica issues for a couple of days and then my phantom limb pain was out of this world. Is that common? Yep. So again, when it comes to phantom limb pain, Bob, you're getting a little heavy there for me. When it comes to phantom limb pain, Bill, one of the biggest things I insist upon is trying to find out what is the trigger. What is the trigger? Because if you know what the trigger is, you will have a better chance at being able to hopefully manage, maybe even get rid of the phantom limb pain. Okay. So in your case, it sounds like it's coming from my sciatica, right? Your sciatic pain. So again, if there's something going on with your sciatic nerve that is firing off, okay, and it's starting to really get that phantom limb pain going, then that's what you need to address. And again, your neighborhood friendly physical therapist is going to be able to really help with that, Bill. What I find with my especially my bilaterals, there's a lot of tightness in the hips, So when you have that tightness in the hips and also a combination of weakness with the glutes, right? The muscles, the deep muscles underneath, super tiny ones, specifically the one called the piriformis, it'll get hot and bothered and it'll start squeezing that sciatic nerve. Okay, because it's too small. It's trying to pick up the slack from the weakness in the glutes and it'll start the fireworks there. Okay, so again, this is where that physical therapist that I recommended you go see, let them know about this and have them do a good assessment to see what's going on there. Let's see. Stacy says, speaking of non-amputated side, I've had more than my hair share of knee replacements on both sides. Finally had to amputate on the left. Before I had osseointegration, my non-amputated side was getting pretty bad. Now I put the majority of my weight on my amputated side and it's given a ton of relief and years to my other replacement. Yeah. And again, it surprises some people sometimes for them to be like, wait a second, why is it that my amputated side is feeling stronger? And I go, because your sound side is also human, right? It's going to have potentially, overuse injuries and the consequences of stress over the years, right? So all of this can happen. All right, let's see what we got going on over on the Instagram side. I keep forgetting to go over there. Let's see. Gustavo says, by the way, Gustavo is one of my colleagues down in Argentina. So I am so happy, guys, to have folks from around the world listening in. And so you might hear me do some Spanish speaking, and I'm always happy to translate either way. So he has a patient who's 29 years old, a bilateral amputee train accident. Awesome. Gustavo, si tienes alguna pregunta en particular, eso definitivamente es un caso muy interesante. Me encantaría saber y poder ayudar. Mándame un email. Mira, te voy a poner mi email ahí por si tienes cualquier pregunta. All right. And guys, I'm also going to post my email there. So for any of you who have any questions, let me just do this now because I always forget to post my email, especially those of you who are new to watching the show. I love getting messages. I am, guys, gravitating more towards my email address and my texting service. So guys, if you are sending me messages through Facebook, you may notice that I have not been answering as quickly as I normally do. It's not because I'm ignoring you. It's simply because I'm gravitating more towards those other platforms. So, hey, Keith, holy smoke, son. I haven't seen you in a long time. How you been? How have you been, man? All right, let's see. Next. Kelly says hip disarticulation and haven't gotten one yet. Amputation was in, August of 2025 is what I'm assuming you said. Okay, Kelly, do me this. If I know that there's not a whole lot of prosthetists out there that are well versed in making prosthetics for hip disarticulations, but they do exist, and I know a couple of them personally. Please let me know if you need a recommendation. I am happy, happy, happy to give one to you. Yeah. So let me know. You have my email address right there if you want to reach out, and we can certainly look towards hopefully finding you someone who can maybe help you out with that if that is something you are interested in. All right, guys, let me go ahead and type in as well. Okay. So guys, if you are not already on my texting service, please, please, please think about signing up. I don't spam you. I just send you maybe one text per week, and it's to let you know about the links when I go live. You can also text me your questions directly there. Okay. So if you haven't already done so, I put the information. You text Cosi Talks, all one word in caps, to that number. Let me know who you are, by the way. Sometimes you guys send me your questions and I'm like, who is this? Because it doesn't show up your name. So let me know who you are so I know who I'm talking to. All right, next, let's see what else we got. What else we got? All right, Linda says, my shepherd is looking for where is the bell sound coming from. Oh my gosh, sorry guys. Like my husband had the bright idea of putting a cute little collar. It's the cutest little collar on Mr. Pickles, and there's a bell on it. Because we kept losing him in the house because he's so tiny. He knows his way around the house, but we lose him, so we needed to know where he was. And now all I hear is ding, ling, 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 ling. It's like having a toddler in the house. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and let's kick it over to another one of my amazing, amazing sponsors. The ones that say Integrum. They know that traditional sockets can sometimes be frustrating, but with Oprah, you get a direct skeletal attachment for more comfort, stability, and freedom. And with bonded matrix, it makes this possible. Okay. Only with Oprah, only with Integrum. Okay. Scan the QR code to learn more. You're going to be hearing a lot more about bonded matrix from us this year. We started hearing about it last year. We have several of our ambassadors that are listening in tonight. Rochelle was one of those folks from last week who had the most beautiful testimony to give. So guys, if you're just curious about what bonded matrix is, you're going to be hearing that buzzword a lot more. So just, if you're curious, click on the QR code. Once again, guys, every time we click on these QR codes, we're showing my sponsors why we need to continue supporting shows like this one and resources like this one. All right, let's see. Next question on board. We've got Scott. Scott says, dark topic continued. Following Rochelle's story last week, would discussion of folks' thoughts about suicide after amputation be a worthy topic? Mental health and all. I'm sure it must have crossed some folks' minds. If not a topic you want to grapple with, understood. Scott, there isn't a topic that I am afraid to grapple and tackle here on this show. I am all about talking about pretty much everything. I don't think there's anything I've shied away from. Glenn says Mr. Pickles is just a toddler with fur. Yeah, and a big old tail and an attitude. He's got the attitude of a teenager, let me tell you. No, guys, if you did not listen to the show last week, you need to go listen to the show. You'll be able to find it on my YouTube channel and on Facebook. Facebook is being a little grumpy lately. It's starting to erase my live videos, and I'm very not happy about that. YouTube channel still going strong. Go listen to the story. So for those of you who missed the show, Rochelle is a suicide survivor. She is a bilateral above the knee amputee. And she did lose her legs in that suicide attempt. And she tells her story so beautifully, so eloquently. Obviously, there was a lot of mental health that was involved in her case and how she is continuing to work on life and what life has been like afterwards. She did have osseointegration done with both legs with great success, and now is leading a very active lifestyle. And she is continuing to work on her mental health. And her story, it's funny. I was talking to the Integrum team after the show, and we were just like this, right? And Jamie from the Integrum team, she says, Cosi, I don't think I've ever seen you speechless on your show. Yeah. So an incredibly beautiful story. And again, whether or not you've struggled with mental health issues before, after your amputation, it's good to listen to this story. And yes, I do think, obviously her suicide attempt caused her amputations, and thankfully since then she has not had any desire to harm herself. Thank goodness, right? Because we need her in this world. But obviously, I know that many of you have had that struggle, and some of you have written to me and disclosed that to me. And again, seeking out those mental health resources. And I think I'm really going to pursue this one. I need to carve out time to go call. There's a particular, and if he's listening tonight, he knows I'm going to call him. There's one particular trauma psychologist that I worked with in my days back at Jackson Memorial Hospital. And it was actually two of them. They were a team. Their names are Mario and Mary, and two incredible psychologists. And many times they would come into the room with me when I worked in the burn trauma center, when I worked in the trauma intensive care units, to work with my patients with me. And I learned so much from them. And I have such a high respect for their profession and their knowledge and expertise. I would love to have them on the show to be able to really speak to you guys from a professional standpoint, and be able to give their input there. So hold my feet to the fire, guys. Hold my feet to the fire. I want you guys to continue to push that to make sure that I reach out to those folks. Let's see. Deborah says, I suspect many think about suicide out of frustration and giving up. Yeah. Shirley says, I've been trying to walk without a forearm crutch. I practice in the house without, and it's not bad. How do I take a plunge and do outside? I'll get to that in just a moment, Rochelle. Bill says, Shirley, I'm so sorry. I have Rochelle on the brain. Marianne says she is amazing, and absolutely. And, Linda says, I saw that in your face. Yeah. And guys, the most frustrating thing for me as a clinician, and I can probably speak for my fellow physical therapists in saying this. My most frustrating time as a physical therapist is not when I can't get my patient to walk. It's frustrating, but it's not my biggest frustration. My biggest frustration as a physical therapist is when I have a patient who comes and discloses to me that they want to end their life and that that they've harmed themselves. That is when, as a physical therapist, I feel incredibly helpless and frustrated and angry, because I wish there was, and I do whatever I can, and I point them to the right resources, and I have the resources I can send them to and follow up with them and stay on them and, contact their family members and making sure that no harm comes to them. But it is an incredibly helpless feeling. And I know that any clinicians who are listening tonight can probably say, yeah. And whether it's an amputee care, cancer care, spinal cord injury, there was a lot of that when I worked on the spinal cord injury unit, when folks came to the realization of the nature of their injury. We dealt with this a lot. And I remember it, I worked in the spinal cord injury unit. I was 23 years old when I got my license. And as a 23-year-old, I barely knew from my elbow, much less having to work with someone who was telling me that they wanted to end their life. How do you, so yeah, I'm not afraid to talk about that on this show. And I do realize that I need to get other experts on the show. Okay. WWE says, I lost my legs to suicide at almost 4 years ago, and I am so glad that you are still here with us. Last attempt was 2.5 years ago. And again, guys, right now, I'm going to put that up there. The Suicide and Crisis hotline, it is 24/7. It's 988. You can call or text if you are in the United States. So I'm going to put that up there just as a gentle reminder for folks. WWE says, finding any worth afterwards was still definitely hard, and don't feel much worth. The pain in others is what keeps me here. So yeah. And it was interesting. I had a beautiful conversation with someone a little while ago. And he said that after his amputation, he has a family. It wasn't even necessarily his wife or his children that prevented him. It's the fact that he knew, and I found this, that his dog, that he has a sweet, sweet dog, and that he knew that if he killed himself, if he committed suicide, that his dog would never know what happened to him. And because of that, that stopped him. And I said, you know what? That's beautiful. Whatever it is that stops you from doing that, worth it. Worth it. So I'm just putting that out there for any of you who have your dogs. Think about your dog. Okay. Mark says, what do you do to help patients that just don't want to get better? That must be extremely frustrating. Yes. And again, I have, for every person, there's a different approach. I rely heavily. I've been a licensed physical therapist for 23 years. I've been working in healthcare for 30 years. So I've had most of my life to observe human nature, right? By no means am I an expert. By no means I'm still learning. But every time I had someone new that I met, whether a patient, a clinician, anybody, I just think of all the characteristics of that person and what makes them tick. And after a few rotations around the sun, you build a pretty big file. And I learned this from one of my early mentors to do that. Every person is different. And I try my best to see how I can reach that person on the level they need to be reached at that moment. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Occasionally I do have a case where the person, no matter how hard I'm working with this person to reach them, to work with them on the level, to meet them where they are at, the person just is not at a point where they are willing to put in the work to get better. And most of the time at that point, they stop coming to therapy. And they always know. And if they tell me that I'm not going to come to therapy anymore, for whatever reason, I always say, you know what, the door is always open. The door is always open and you are always welcome to come back and try again. And I don't care how many times you quit, you are always welcome to come back and try and try and try again. And I try my best to work with families and the close ones to the person involved, because they also need support to see how, it takes a village. I'll call upon the prosthetist, I'll call upon the doctor, whoever it is that we can, to try to bring the resources for this individual. But at the end of the day, guys, the collective you have to be the one to put the work in. And there's no easy way out. That's the thing. There is no easy way. And if there's one thing I learned, again, the realization when I was in cancer was there's no other way out for me right now. Either I do the surgeries and do the chemotherapy or I die. Those were the cards that I've been dealt. And that was like a huge Mack truck in the face. Like coming to that realization of this is the hand that I've been dealt. Play or fold. That's it. Those were my two choices. And I see that in my patients. I see that they're looking at their hand and they're going, I got a lousy hand and no ace in my pocket. Either I play the hand or I fold. Right? And I'm sure at some points, all of you have come to that, some way or another, you were faced with that moment. Okay. So yeah. WWE says my 4 cats also stop me. There's always someone that needs you. There's always someone that needs you in this world. Let's see. WWE says, when I was kicked out of physical therapy by the primary, the secondary wanted me to come back under someone else, and I stopped trying. And again, WWE, if on the occasion where I've had a patient who stops coming to therapy, when I was a younger therapist, I would always be like, well, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And, it's not to say there aren't things I could do differently, right? But it's also come to the realization of, the person has to want to, and that they might not be the best fit. That sometimes happens, right? It sometimes happens where I might not be the best fit for that person. No matter how hard I try, no matter how hard that person tries, right? That's okay. Truly, that's okay. So WWE, it could be that you just haven't found that person yet that is the one who's going to be able to help you. I would encourage you, don't stop trying. Okay? Don't stop trying. All right. Yeah. Bubbles and Robert, I am very glad I decided to play that hand too. It was a good bluff. I wish my luck would have been better at my hand at playing at blackjack in Vegas. All right. Ham Sandwich says, the issue I deal with very frequently is the fact that I know that that option is always on the table when stress or pain or grief peaks. At least there's always a way out right now. And again, yeah, for some folks, there's always that little dark cloud, right? For some folks, it's a lot bigger than others. It's always there. But it is your decision to push that away. Just saying. All right. Gustavo, in a patient with bilateral amputation, 3R80 or 85 ergenium, 3-4 would be recommended. Now I'm working on posture and correction of both stumps. Yeah. So I would say, Gustavo, if you can get those Genium X3-4, that would be huge. Those are really I haven't had a chance yet to work with the Genium 4. Obviously, I've worked a lot with the X3s. Haven't worked with an X4 just yet. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing the differences there. But yeah. And it's mucha suerte, Gustavo, con eso. All right, let's see. All right, let me take a look at my Instagram because I keep forgetting to check my Instagram channel. Sorry, guys. We got Johnny on board. Mola Lachelle, thanks for joining on board as well. We got Sheila. Oh, my goodness, another one of my colleagues on board. Thanks for coming. All right, let's keep going over here. All right, guys, we have to kick it over to another one of my sponsors, which I am so happy to do this. I am so happy that I have a show full of sponsors, honestly. So my sponsors from Neuros Medical want to know, are you living with chronic phantom limb pain or residual limb pain? The Cosi Talks show is proud to partner with Neuros Medical, makers of the Altia system, the first and only FDA-approved device to aid in managing chronic post-amputation pain in adult lower limb amputees. Make sure you click the QR code or visit neurosmedical.com to learn more. Guys, these folks, I am super stoked. Okay, they are new sponsors for 2026. I heard about them in 2019 when they were developing their product for helping address phantom limb pain and residual limb pain. Phantom pain is something we talk about a lot on this show. And for me, I think it's important to understand what all of your options are. Okay. So there's not going to be one option that works for everybody, but I think it's truly important to understand what all those options are. Here's going to be another option for you. So I am super excited. They are coming on the show for the first time April 1st. And no, it's not going to be an April Fool's joke. What they're going to be telling you that day is going to be for real. And it's also going to help kick off Limb Loss Awareness Month. So I'm really excited about that. But guys, in the meantime, they have some really great videos and great explanations of what they can do. So click on that QR code, watch some of their videos, listen to some of their patient testimonials. Okay. In particular, there's one by a gentleman by the name of Jeff. He's been on the show several times. He is a prosthetist and an amputee as well. And he's a believer in the Neuros Medical system, and he can tell you his experience. All right. Let's see. Gustavo dice, voy a estar molestando con consulta y consejo, please help me. No es molestia, Gustavo, para eso estoy aquí. Here is my email, aquí está mi email. Mándame preguntas, con mucho gusto, estoy aquí a la orden, con mucho gusto, en serio, mándame email. Okay, Pam says, I use Clear Dial antibacterial soap to clean my leg and liners. Rinse, good girl. Is this enough to prevent fungal issues and ingrown hair infections, etc.? And I wrote, when you texted me that question, Pam, I wrote a very cryptic yes and no. So let me dive into this a little bit further. Okay, so when it comes to the hygiene of the residual limb, y'all know that I talk about that a lot because it's super important. Some people, you have two ends of the spectrum and a lot of stuff going on between. I see some people that they're like, I use my bar of ivory soap. That's what I've been using every day of my life. I've never had a problem and I always use it. Awesome. And then I have on the other end of the spectrum that if you look at the person's limb the wrong way, they blister, they get rashes, and it's all over the place, right? And then everything in between, okay? I personally am a huge fan of the Vital Fit. That is my skincare go-to regime for my amputee patients. They are coming on the show because Sleep Saver is now carrying the Vital Fit skincare line. So you're going to hear a lot more about that next week, okay? I think when you have a well-balanced skin biome, okay, That's when you're going to have happy skin. And that's when you're going to have the least amount of these issues. Okay. I usually do not recommend antibacterials. I don't. Whether it's the Germy gel on the hands or using it on the residual limb, I don't ever usually recommend it unless your dermatologist has told you that you have to use it. Okay. WW asked, are the texts automated or is it me? It's me. It's me. I'm not that, I'm small potatoes. I'm not big potatoes. I'm small potatoes. So I write all of my text messages. I answer all of my emails. So yeah, the automated one is like Wednesday nights, like 15 minutes before the show goes on, you'll get an automated text saying, going live, here are the links. But if you're asking me a question, it's me answering. It's me answering. It's not an assistant. I wish I had an assistant. I don't have an assistant. But no, it is me answering. Okay. All right. So getting back to the skincare on the limb, I very, very, very rarely recommend antibacterial. Why? Because I feel like it strips your skin and it kills off the good stuff along with the bad stuff. Okay. So there's a joke going around about how with COVID-19, we all finally learned how to wash our hands properly with the proper hand washing technique. The actual friction, guys, has shown to kill the bacteria just as effectively as an antibacterial soap. Okay. So when you're washing your limb, I like to use the soap from the cleanser from the Vital Fit. Okay. It's gentle. It will help with the, lost my train of thought there for a moment, help with bacteria, odor, overgrowth, things like that, sweat management without killing off the good stuff in your skin. Okay. So that's kind of my, that's my soapbox, pun intended, on that one. Okay. Now, if you find that you're having fungal issues, okay, again, things to look for. Fungus likes to grow in warm, moist environments. So are you living in a place that is really sweaty, like Florida? Okay. Are you living, is your liner completely cleaned? Okay. Even if you're not necessarily in hot, humid Florida, you might still be producing sweat within your liner, in which case you might have to remove your liner a couple of times a day, clean it, and then put everything back on again, clean it and dry it. Okay. Those are things to think about. Okay. Also, yes, and you're on the ball, Pam, you said you rinse your liner. That's a huge one. Usually for me, I find a lot of my patients' problems with rashes start with the liner, like what's going on inside the liner. So if you're doing a good job of rinsing it and you're still getting a fungal infection, again, go see the dermatologist, make sure they're identifying it properly as a fungal infection to treat it. Okay. And in terms of ingrown hair, that could be a royal pain. Usually people get ingrown hairs, especially my ladies, when they shave their residual limb. Okay. And I understand some women don't like to see the hair growing on the residual limb, but if you shave it, use a depilatory cream, or if you wax it, when the root starts growing back in, you're going to run into a lot of ingrown hairs. So if it really, really bothers you, okay, laser hair removal is what I would recommend. Okay. That's the route I would go, or using clippers and just clip the hair short, but leaving the actual hair shaft still there. Okay. Sometimes if I find someone's having a lot of problems with ingrown hairs, a cleanser with like a salicylic acid in it, and that's something that you can get at the drugstore to help kind of slough off those skin cells that are building on top of the hair follicle. Okay. But again, dermatologist is one of those specialties that I say, if you are experiencing a lot of problems with hair, ingrown hair, with rashes, things like that, it's good to go see a dermatologist. These are just like the baseline foundational tricks of the trade right there. Mike is asking, what microprocessor knees do I like? Honestly, and this is not a cop-out answer, whatever works best for the individual. And I've had some stories where, and again, it's the individual, it's the situation they're in, right? So when I was in Guatemala, right, I went to go work at the clinic there a couple of times, And, my first time there, I'm just like, gosh, it's too bad that people here don't have microprocessor knees. And I looked at their lifestyle and I'm like, you know what? For the majority of the folks here, a microprocessor knee would not be suited to their lifestyle because they have to go over a lot of rough terrain. They are, a lot of times, out at 14 hours away from the nearest prosthetist clinic. So they can't get maintenance done. They need a leg that can take a beating, right? Literally can take a beating, right? So a mechanical knee is more appropriate for them. Okay. There's some people here, and I'll never forget this, Michael. When I was first working as a therapist 23 years ago, we were just starting to barely see microprocessor units come to the civilian population. Okay. It was mainly the guys at Walter Reed, the young military bucks that were using the microprocessor knees. And interestingly, many of them who tried the C leg ended up going back to their mechanical knees because they felt like they had better control, and because they were having to control the knee more, they liked that, right? I've had some people who use super, super high-end microprocessor knee, like the $150,000 microprocessor knee, and then they used the $50,000 microprocessor knee, and they preferred the $50,000 one, the less expensive one, right? When it comes to the microprocessor knees, yes, there's a functionality that you match up with each individual, right? You're not going to give someone who's not very active, who has low mobility and is struggling with their mobility, you're not going to give them a Genium X3 or 4, right? You want to start them on a knee that meets them on their functional level, okay? And that gives them the stability and independence that they're going to have, that's going to give them the best independence. But then within those ranges, right, you might have knees from competing companies that just feel a little different. And it's about what that person feels best with, okay? And the same thing goes for prosthetic feet, same exact thing. Let's see. Susan says, I love the VitalFit products. I know, I really do. I love those products. VitalFit, you can find them on Sleeve Saver. So actually, I'm going to throw up that QR code again, Deborah. Where to go? Here. Okay. So Deborah, click that QR code. That will take you to the Sleeve Saver website, and they are carrying the VitalFit skincare line. Okay. They are carrying that line. So that's where you want to go. All right. Mark says, how many liners do most people have in rotation? I've bought extras. So I have a fresh, clean one ready at all times, and I don't need to put that one that's wet. Yeah. Ideally, you'll have two. You'll have two liners, one that's being washed and one that's being worn. So that's the general recommendation there for that. And I believe most insurance companies will cover those. All right, let me go. Speaking of liners, Donna asks, why are liners so hard to put on? I finally got my prosthetic leg. Donna, congratulations, first of all. Girl, liners are like the best pair of leggings, okay? If it doesn't cost you a little struggle to put it on, they ain't fitting right. That's all I can say. And I'm laughing now because the other day, I was putting on my running leggings, and running leggings, they're meant to be snug on you, right? To give you good compression. And my husband walked in on me. He was just laughing because, man, it was the goofiest thing, me trying to get into those daggum leggings. But, and we're just sitting there laughing because I look like a complete fool trying to get these leggings on, struggling like, get these leggings on. Liners, they're supposed to be super, Pastor Dave's laughing at me. It was funny. It was definitely not how can I say this? Not a sexy moment, me trying to put my leggings on. Let's put it that way. We'll stop there. Okay. So anyways, and putting a liner on, guys, a liner is supposed to fit really, really snug. It's not supposed to strangle you. Okay. But if it doesn't require a little oomph on your part to get your liner on, it's probably not fitting properly. It's probably maybe either a little too big or maybe it's getting a little stretched out. Let's see. Ooh, that's a great point there. If you have an HSA, guys, VitalFit qualifies for your healthcare spending account. So those of you who have healthcare spending accounts, I think they're great. They cover VitalFit. Muy bueno. We like that. Robert says, I have 3 liners in rotation, one that is new, one that is broken in, and one that is in between. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Oh, this is a sweet comment. Bubbles wants to be your Valentine. He now knows that you're real. Mr. Rob sends, you love to you and your family. Want to thank you for the love you share with our community and have brought so many together and helped us find the support we needed. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 8 years in running, 8 years in running, and God willing, we'll keep it going. God willing, we'll keep it going forward. All right, guys, my last sponsor for the evening, last and certainly not least, is College Park, my longest running sponsor of the Cosi Talks show. They love for you to know about the Odyssey IQ, which is a microprocessor foot that is lightweight, low profile, and smart, adapting to your every step. Want to try it for 30 days risk-free? Go ahead and scan the QR code or hit my website to check it out right now. And guys, I would also encourage you, if you have a moment, my team did a beautiful job of putting together my website. I have the most amazing team, guys. Seriously. You guys have seen what a tech moron I am. I have two of the most amazing human beings on my side helping you with tech, and I couldn't do it without them. So that being said, we have a beautiful updates to the Cosi Talks show, the Cosi Talks website, end of night, guys. My words are like out the window. If you go to my Cosi Talks website and you look under Cosi's favorites, you're going to see a little page for each one of my sponsors. I have videos in there explaining why I'm working with each particular company and why I'm partnered with them, and all sorts of fun and hidden Easter eggs there for you. So again, a lot of work went into that. So if you have a little extra time tonight, go to cositalks.com, check it out, sign up for my email. You find all sorts of goodies there, especially you get the first dibs on any giveaways there. Whew. Okay, y'all, I'm talked out. I am talked out. All right, guys, let me make sure I got all the last questions there. Yeah, Rex says, I love the College Park Odyssey rebuilt. Absolutely. And guys, it really is, again, not just because they're my sponsors, it's a really fantastic option for the microprocessor foot. It really is very low profile, very lightweight. It's getting a lot of great buzz in the amputee world, in the community. So it's a really, really great option. All right, guys. With that being said, again, last minute housekeeping, guys, keep an eye on my social media. I'm going to be posting more about my show next week with Sleeve Saver, and the ultimate founder of Sleeve Saver is Bill Hatton. He's going to be on the show. We're going to have so much to cover. We have some great giveaways. So those of you who are on my email list and on my texting service, you're going to get first dibs on that. So go check it out. I have some exciting stuff coming out tomorrow. There's a surprise launch tomorrow. So guys, look at my Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. You're going to see it there. If you're not already following me, go follow me on there. All right, guys, I am going to bow out. I am going to go get some sleep. As always, guys, thank you for letting me be a part of your lives this evening. If you have a sweetheart, then go enjoy your sweetheart this Valentine's Day. If you don't have a sweetheart, I hope you still enjoy your Valentine's Day and have a wonderful time with friends and family. So guys, I will